What if I told you one drop of a certain poison could wipe out all life on Earth? Sounds like a plot straight out of a sci-fi thriller, doesn't it? But hold your horses, this isn't fiction we're talking about. It's a chilling reality that such a potent poison exists. Now, let's take a step back and consider this. Life as we know it, teeming with myriad forms, from the microscopic bacteria to the majestic blue whale, every single life form gone just like that. All it would take is a single drop of this deadly poison. It's a thought that's as fascinating as it is horrifying. But before we let our imaginations run wild, let's ground ourselves in some scientific facts. We're not talking about something as mundane as cyanide or arsenic. No, this poison is in a league of its own. It's so potent that even in its tiniest quantity it can wreak havoc on an unimaginable scale. Think about it, something so small, almost invisible to the naked eye, holds the power to obliterate life as we know it. It's a paradox, isn't it? On one hand, we have the vastness and resilience of life, and on the other its fragility, susceptible to a single drop of a deadly substance. But what is this poison? Where does it come from? How is it that something so lethal can exist in our world? These are questions that might be swirling in your mind right now. Well, fear not, we're about to embark on a journey to uncover the secrets of this deadly poison. We'll delve into the science behind it, explore its origins, and understand its deadly effects. Buckle up, because this is going to be one thrilling ride. Intrigued? Let's unravel the mystery behind this deadly poison. To understand the lethality of this poison, we need to delve into the science of poisons. A poison is a substance that can cause harm or death when introduced into a living organism, typically through ingestion, inhalation, injection, or absorption through the skin. These harmful substances interfere with the normal functioning of the body's cells, organs, or systems, leading to a range of symptoms and potentially death. So how does poison work? The specifics can vary widely, depending on the type of poison, but generally, they disrupt essential biological processes. Some poisons, for instance, block key enzymes that cells need to survive. Others might bind with proteins, preventing them from carrying out their vital tasks. Yet others may mimic certain molecules, tricking cells and wreaking havoc. What makes some poisons more deadly than others? The answer lies in their potency and the amount needed to cause harm. This brings us to the concept of LD50, which stands for lethal dose 50%. It's a standard measure used in toxicology to determine the median lethal dose of a poison. In other words, the dose that would be expected to cause death in 50% of a population of test animals. The lower the LD50, the less of the substance is needed to cause death, and thus, the more deadly the poison. Different poisons have vastly different LD50s. For example, the LD50 of table salt for humans, if consumed in a single dose, is around 3 kilograms, or roughly 6.5 pounds. On the other hand, the LD50 of cyanide is just about 5 grams, less than a teaspoon. And yet, even cyanide pales in comparison to the poison we're about to discuss. The poison we're talking about has an LD50 that is alarmingly low. This makes it one of the most potent poisons known to man, capable of causing death with just a single drop. The poison we're discussing is none other than botulinum toxin. This is not just any run-of-the-mill poison. Botulinum toxin is considered the most deadly substance known to mankind. It's so lethal that just a tiny droplet about the size of a grain of sand has the power to kill an adult human. But where does this lethal toxin come from? The source of this potent poison is a bacterium known as Clostridium botulinum. This bacterium is naturally found in the soil and the sediments of lakes, seas, and ponds worldwide. It's also present in the human intestinal tract. Essentially, it's living right under our noses. But how does this seemingly innocuous bacterium produce the world's most deadly poison? Well, when the conditions are just right, Clostridium botulinum forms spores that can survive in a dormant state in the soil for many years. When these spores find themselves in an oxygen-free environment, they germinate, grow, and then start to produce the deadly botulinum toxin. What makes botulinum toxin so deadly is its ability to target our body's nervous system. Once it gets into the bloodstream, it binds to the nerve endings that control our muscles. This prevents the nerves from signaling the muscles to contract, leading to paralysis. The paralysis can be so severe that it affects the muscles that control our breathing, causing death by asphyxiation. So why is botulinum toxin considered the most poisonous substance known? Well, it's all about potency. The lethal dose for humans is estimated to be around 1 nanogram per kilogram of body weight. To put that into perspective, a nanogram is 1/1000th of a gram. That means a single gram of botulinum toxin could theoretically kill about 1 million people if it were evenly distributed. Incredibly, the most lethal poison on Earth comes from an organism that lives right here with us. Remember though that this information isn't meant to scare you, but to help you appreciate the fascinating, if somewhat terrifying world of poisons that exists in nature. Now, what makes botulinum toxin so deadly? Well, let's dive into the science of it. This toxin is a type of neurotoxin, which means it targets the nervous system, disrupting the way nerve cells communicate. Here's how it works. To communicate, nerve cells send signals to each other by releasing chemicals called neurotransmitters. These neurotransmitters travel across gaps between nerve cells called synapses and bind to receptors on the receiving nerve cell. This binding triggers the receiving cell to send the signal further down the line. But when botulinum toxin enters the body, it blocks the release of a critical neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Without acetylcholine, the nerve cells can't send their signals. This blockage prevents muscle cells from contracting, leading to a condition known as flaccid paralysis. Now imagine this paralysis spreading throughout your body, affecting every muscle. That's the frightening reality of botulism. Even muscles critical for life, like those that control breathing, can be paralyzed. The initial symptoms of botulism might seem innocuous: blurred vision, drooping eyelids, difficulty swallowing, and muscle weakness. But as the toxin spreads, these symptoms can escalate into paralysis of the respiratory muscles, leading to respiratory failure. Without immediate medical attention, this can be fatal. It's astounding to realize that such a tiny amount of this toxin can wreak such havoc. A mere nanogram, that's 1/1000th of a gram, of botulinum toxin is enough to cause these devastating effects. So why is it so potent? It comes down to the fact that botulinum toxin is incredibly efficient at what it does. It doesn't just block the release of acetylcholine, it destroys the proteins that enable the release, meaning the effects are not just temporary but can be long-lasting. Just imagine the potential catastrophe if a larger quantity of this toxin was released into the environment or used maliciously. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? Just one drop of this poison can have catastrophic consequences. Despite its deadly nature, botulinum toxin isn't all doom and gloom. In the grand theater of nature, even the most lethal substances can play dual roles. Botulinum toxin, known as the world's most deadly poison, has a surprising second act. While it has the potential to extinguish all life, it also has the capacity to heal and enhance. Now, you might be wondering how something so deadly could be beneficial. It's a paradox that baffles many, but it's all about the dose and the application. Consider this: in extremely small, controlled amounts, botulinum toxin is the magic ingredient in Botox, the popular cosmetic treatment. Botox, a name that has become synonymous with the pursuit of youthful appearance, owes its existence to this lethal poison. When injected into specific muscles, the toxin blocks nerve signals that cause these muscles to contract, leading to a temporary smoothing of wrinkles. But the uses of botulinum toxin extend beyond the cosmetic realm. It's also employed in the medical field to treat a variety of conditions. For instance, it's used to manage chronic migraines, reducing the frequency of headaches for those who suffer from this debilitating condition. It's also used for treating muscle spasticity in conditions like cerebral palsy, providing relief and improving quality of life for countless individuals. In the field of ophthalmology, botulinum toxin is used to treat strabismus, a condition where the eyes do not properly align with each other. The toxin is injected into the overactive eye muscles, causing them to relax and allowing the eyes to align properly. So it appears that the most lethal substance on Earth is not just a harbinger of death, but a provider of relief and a tool for enhancement. It's a stark reminder of how, in nature, even the most deadly can be harnessed for good under the right circumstances. So, while one drop could potentially wipe out all life on Earth in the right hands, it can also be a game changer. It's a thin line between poison and cure, isn't it? Indeed, today we've journeyed through the realm of the world's most lethal poison, botulinum toxin, and its paradoxically life-saving medical uses. We've explored its terrifying effects on the body, and yet, how it can be harnessed to heal in controlled doses. It's a stark reminder of the power that resides in nature's smallest elements. One thing is certain, the world of poisons is as fascinating as it is terrifying. And remember, it's not always about the poison but the dose that makes the poison